Just waiting for some people to join. I'll turn down the music a little. Just let me know if I'm too quiet or if music's too loud. Gonna chart some futures while we're waiting. Maybe make this a little easier to see. I am feeling better. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I've had Gentleman's Jack. I don't mind Gentleman's Jack at all. Just in the gym mood tonight, so that's what we got. Alright, so we'll come back and we'll check how this plays out at the end of the night, but it does look like it's making a cup and handle inverse. Does not look very good. Does not look good at all. So I expect futures to take a bad turn. I think Apple's going to get smoked tonight, which is going to smoke the market because Apple just pulled out of China. I'm going to throw a poll up on my Twitter once you guys go vote for what I'm drinking. There we go. I'll put this in the link for you guys. Check the Chinese market, sure. Just 1 second. Yeah, it doesn't look good, right? So you basically got and this is basically what we were talking about last week, and it had the same setup, but just keep making it, right? Like last week we were talking about this, right? And I said I was going to do that, and it's just making smaller and smaller cup and handles. And if you look back, you know, we were talking about it, just keeps doing these mountains where it just keeps rolling over. So this is the playlist tonight. Put that in the chat for you. I think I tweeted this playlist out too, so. Alright, we're gonna keep this clean, but yeah, it looks like a cup and handle, so. Alright, so I haven't cracked any of the bottles yet, that's why I was asking, like, which one do I crack tonight? Looks like it's a tie between Basil Hayden's and the double barrel so far. I just read on the news that they're shutting down their Foxconn production facility in China, which is pretty big news. So I mean, that came out like a few minutes ago, so. Alright. So this is what ES looks like. Check, see what Baba's doing overseas. It doesn't look good so far. It's down 6%. Okay. Oh wow, alright. Pull up my futures here. Oh, the China H shares are down 3.2%. The A50 is down 0.6%. Hang Seng's down 0.4%. Yep. Looking pretty good for them. Not. Our futures are up, but not going in the right direction. Alright. Alright. I'm just gonna pull my Twitter up here. See what people wanted me to chart. Alright, here we go. So only one person responded, so we're gonna go with his tickers first. SWN. Yeah. Chart stuff on the hourly tonight.
Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you?
So one thing I'm a little worried about with energy stocks, and this was one of the things that was worrying going into the weekend, is they all broke up trends and they all kind of had diamond formations, right? So they have like this high wick and low wick, and you know, the one thing that's nice is they do kind of have a falling wedge, but I do expect them to start lower tomorrow. And then probably fill that wick before it goes back up.
I'm a storyteller.
Someone wanted me to look at American Airlines as well. Wow, the stock looks terrible. Evening coffee lover. Yeah, we can take a look at uranium tonight. Pretty sure is it Canada that said they were opening up some more nuclear plants. We had some Canadian uranium news over the weekend, but yeah, we can look at steel. Yeah, I think this has one more leg down. It's where? Probably maybe $12 or so.
Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Ah, watermarks. Yes. Good idea. Here. Where is where's my purple outfit? There we go. We'll just use this. Alright. Let's look at silver futures real quick. I like this setup better anyways. Tried to make a new one and I forgot to add all my stuff to it. But we'll just use an old setup. Silver kind of looks like it's bear flagging, huh? Probably need to wait a little bit longer for silver to do something. How's crypto looking? You know, I haven't looked at crypto in a long time. Let's take a look at that. I had crypto dying. So these are my two things I charted back on 5th. So it looks like it still wants to die. Looks like it just went like this instead though. Probably have to adjust this a little. Oops. All right, there we go. Let's look at oil futures. What's up, WTI? There we go. Man. Can oil hold here? That's the question. Kind of looks like it needs to, right? Kind of been on this downward path here. Kind of looks like a head and shoulders too, right? I mean, I want it to be bullish, but it's not looking great so far. But what we're looking for basically is accumulation right here. So doesn't mean the head and shoulders has to play out. We do have really good volume on this candle, and we do have a snapback on it, so that could be our selling climax. We do have a river, but we need oil to break out above 109 basically for it to be bullish again, or at least hold 100 in my opinion. I think it has to hold 100 because you might get, now let's pull out the little, you might get something like this. So we'll have to see. This would basically be a attempt to sell oil off, and then it gets bought up immediately and creates a bull run basically. So this is going to get to the point where people are going to go long again, and then that's when we get our tests for new recent highs. So, all right. I know someone wanted me to look at gold tonight. Look at gold futures most likely. Gold futures look pretty identical to silver, which is to be expected. So basically with gold, you want it to hold like that 1960 level. You definitely want it to hold 1950. 1950 is probably your line in the sand that you want it to hold, but I mean, for me, this is a breakout and retest. So, you know, you got your ascending triangle here, your cup, whatever you want to call it, breakout, retest, breakout, and then you're getting a larger retest now. I would expect gold, especially with inflation, to continue. I think we see a dip this week with Fed policy, but after that we should take off. I know someone asked me to look into Arch. I was thinking, this is an old one. Arch really took off of this breakout here, right? So Arch is basically consolidating right here. Let me pull the short interest on this. This is still the most shorted energy stock on the market. It's still sitting at near all-time highs, or recent highs at least. All right, here we go. So one thing we haven't seen is pressure on this to really squeeze yet. So it's shocking to me that it's 36% shorted near all-time highs, but the cost to borrow isn't going up. That means people aren't asking for their shares back, basically, that loan them out. So yeah, Ricky, that could cause a short-term drop in gold, which would make sense, but I'm not sure if they would. I mean, they might be forced to do that, but we'll have to see. But so right now this looks a little bearish. It might fill this gap down to 143, but I believe China coal futures are up right now, so it's either gonna do this and break out, or you know, it could just be curling right here to break out as well. So I am bullish still on Arch. I don't see how this doesn't get squeezed at some point soon. Yep, we did a death cross on futures. So I mean, this is the chart that I tweeted out a month ago. It's just slightly updated, but for the most part, you know, I may not have had my timing exact, but for the most part I've been pretty accurate here. And you could see, you know, it basically broke this bear flag, it retested it just at the beginning of these futures, and now futures look like they're potentially going red. So I expect futures to be red, probably open around 415 tomorrow potentially. You know, we'll have to see, but it doesn't look good. I think we go down maybe to 400 tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but by Wednesday. And then after that, we'll have to see, but tomorrow's going to be interesting for sure. I would not get too excited the fact that futures are green right now. In fact, small cap futures just went red, so the fact that China's down 4% should not get you excited. Japan is down 0.5%. We should get European futures about 2.5 hours. Wouldn't get too excited about that. Tech futures are about to go red. So, not very good. I mean, there's not a great way to play Arch. I'm in Arch. I have the 160s. I have been seeing a lot of buying in the May 220s, which is crazy because it's so far out of the money, right? So they're thinking this thing's going to go up another 50%, which if it gets a squeeze, sure, it can go to 300 plus, right? But we'll just have to wait and see. And I've seen some energy stocks get squeezed, but just have to wait and see which ones do end up getting squeezed. So for instance, I believe VTNR got squeezed recently. This is one that I like for a potential squeeze again, and you can see this went from $1.75 up to 14, and now it's curling around again. And this was last year it got squeezed, right? So let's not get confused. Arch is going to be a tough one because the contracts aren't very liquid either, but I like the risk reward there, so I'm gonna risk the illiquid contracts. Alright, so yeah, Indo did go nuts as well. Indian Edge, this was one that I saw squeezed from $4 up to 87. This is still heavily shorted as you would expect. I think this had to move. I think maybe it makes another move to, 37.40, but the big move's done. It's not going to do that again. So alright, let's go back to VTNR. I wanted to chart this one. So I am a little concerned that it kind of looks like a rising wedge and is into resistance, but I do like the data on it. I think we get some consolidation and then potentially a breakout. So I'll be watching this one this week. Let me pull up the short interest on this. Yeah, so this does have good short interest. You're looking at about 33% on this one. This one does have 100% utilization, and cost to borrow is going up, so I don't think tomorrow is going to be the day it goes. But like I said, I could probably see something like this. Maybe by midweek we get a breakout. So keep that one on watch as well. I don't know if I do have corn futures. So corn futures, looking at right here. Alright, let's see, before I get into this, what the vote was. So looks like the Basil Hayden, only 28, okay. So the Basil Hayden's is the leader. What does everyone think? So let's go back to the poll. I believe I was looking at ES1 on here. So tell me real quick, just to verify, Basil Hayden's in the lead by like 1 vote right here. So looks like, let's do this so the other ones aren't getting that many votes, even though they're better. I guess they're picking the 2 of the 4. I think it's just because you don't know what Highland Park is. If you've had the Highland Park, you'd pick that, but these are the 2 that looks like people are voting for. So I'll let you guys pick whichever one gets the most votes. I'll go with. Hold on, check this out. Just so you know, I'm not joking. That's with the live chart in the background. But looks like we're going with basil. Can't go wrong with that. I unfollowed Trigger Trades because he went crazy. So no, I did not see it. Alright, let me pour this drink and then we'll get back to charting. I like MTTR long term. I've said this all year. It's just nothing's gotten love from the market. So when the market finally turns around, take your favorite picks and go long on them, right? So So I'm a big fan of the dark rye. So one of the big things that the dark rye has Well, I didn't know Basil Hayden's made by Jim Beam. Interesting. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of port, and the fact that they age this in port casks makes it gives a kind of a sweet note that takes off the bite of a lot of whiskeys. So it's definitely on the mellower and sweeter side of whiskeys. Really smooth though. Can't go wrong with this. Big fan. Alright, back to charting. Just had to take a sip. Alright, so if you got one, salud, cheers, prost, skol, whatever you say in your home country if you're not from the US. To my Russian comrades that don't agree with the war, Nostrovia. I'm not a big Jameson guy, but I understand a lot of people like it. So corn needs to get over this 766 mark, right? But it is holding up really well. It is making the curl really well. I expect there to be a huge breakout in corn at some point this week. Unless talks really do go the way that they're portraying them to go right now, I'm not sure. I'm not positive that the talks are going to get resolved, but we'll see. I've heard this story many times, so until they actually resolve it, I'm not going to get too excited. So, yeah, looks good so far. I mean, you're getting a sell-off, right? But look at the wicks on this. So look at the wicks. That means that people are buying up the sell-off despite it going down. The fact that you're getting each low level bought up, and it's starting, even with this wick, right? So you're seeing it's starting to curl back up. Alright, let's, how's the music? Music too loud, or should I turn it a little down? I could turn it down a little bit more if it's too loud. Let's look at corn futures. Oh, we're looking at corn futures. Let's look at wheat futures. What am I doing? Alright, so wheat futures look a little worse than corn futures, but not terrible. It's like, what am I doing? Alright. So, pretty clear channel down, right? Wait. Should I look at corn futures and put some corn on? That'd be pretty funny. So until it breaks this downtrend, I'd like to see it hold this level here at 1060. But I'd like to see it break this downtrend and get back over this hump here. I think this is going to be the key level right here. So I don't really know how to make up the numbers. I don't normally chart the futures. This is new corn and wheat to me, playing them, but the reason we're playing them is because Ukraine and Russia are such a large supplier of it. If those supply chains get interrupted or we just stop buying from them, you're going to see a price squeeze on this, right? So I don't think the price... See, here's my theory on... Let's go to my S&P. So my theory is that everyone thinks that the rate hike is priced in, which it could be, right? So this is the rate hike right here, right? So what we're gonna get is possibly a sell-off tonight. I don't know if it's gonna make this huge drop. This is really bearish take on my part. So this is a really bearish take on it, but I mean, we might only drop to, maybe we go to 412, maybe we go to 415 tomorrow, right? So maybe we just do something like this. But the big thing you have to understand is if we get anything more than the 25 rate hike, that is not priced in. The 25-point rate hike is priced in. The 50-point is not. And I think we get a 50-point. I think Powell has to do a 50-point because the most recent inflation data says that it's going up still. And until the Russia-China or until the Russia-Ukraine thing happened, it was pretty much a certainty that we were getting a 50-point rate hike. And then they kind of backed off and they said, you know, we might have to do a 25-point, but they have to do a 50. They have to, in my opinion. Otherwise, inflation is just going to get worse, and this is going to be a terrible year. So, I'm expecting personally a 50-point. Everyone and their mom is saying 25, and that could absolutely happen. But personally, I think we get a 50-point, and I don't think that's priced in, and I think that causes the market to dump more on top of everything else that's going on. So that's my personal philosophy on it. We'll see. I'll be here for either way. I'm just probably going to be all cash going into the Fed meeting. If we get 25-point rate hike, I'll go long for the rest of the day and possibly the week. And if we get a 50-point, I will go short immediately. So, and I will keep adding on to my short position. So watch the rate hike decision. We're going to get a rate hike. It's just whether it's going to be 25 or 50. And if it's anything more than that, then look out. But the 25-point rate hike would support my current chart. So we get that. Maybe we sell off a little bit, but then we should continue up with the 25-point. If we get a 50-point, I might have to redo this part of it. We'll see. All right. Had some requests here. I'm going to scroll up to the top and Bark. I think people are remembering that Bark once ran really nice one day and wanted to run again. Where a lot of these companies that you see like this, you know, stocks do get delisted and they do go out of business. You know, if the business plan doesn't work, it doesn't work. It is what it is, right? But it's what we call a never-ending falling wedge, right? Where it just breaks out and creates a new wedge. So they just can't get profitable, right? So if they could figure out a way to get profitable, then maybe. But I mean, they're losing losing a couple million each quarter. Looks like they had a profitable quarter Q2, probably because of COVID last year. They have a decent book value. I don't hate them right here. You know, at $500 million market cap, they are still rather large for a home delivery business. But you know, they brought in 140 million in a quarter, so they could figure out a way to make that profitable. Maybe stop spending so much on customer acquisition. I don't know what it is, but you could start to see a turnaround. But until you see this wedge break, and you know, taking a look at this, and this area right here in particular between 5 and where it's currently at, this does have trademarks of an accumulation zone. So you have a selling climax right here, basically, with an automatic snapback, and you see a major volume spike, you know, basically the second largest volume spike of all time. So this is where you had your short squeeze last time, right? So where it ran from 10 to 14, and then you're starting to see a curling action here, right? So you see a rounding bottom. So if we can get back above 330, might have a chance there. All right, there's my bark intuition for you. SoFi. So SoFi continues to be in this falling wedge slash channel. I think the big thing is it needs to get back over $10 for one, and needs to break this channel. Otherwise, there's just, I mean, everything Chamath touched in the last 2 years has died, and in all reality, it sounds like he kind of scammed a lot of people. But SoFi's not a bad company. I think it gets a bad rap because it's wrapped up with the other specs that Chamath did. But it's not a pretty looking chart, so I mean, do you guys want me to keep looking at your tickers, or do you want to actually look at tickers that can make you money? I think that's the real question. Alright, so X, I love how I had this charted at $19 and it just kept going. So X had a huge breakout, double top rejection here, but it did have a nice wick at the end of the day and ended above where it needed to end for continuation. I said my price target at the beginning of the year on X was around 50. So I said in January, you know, when I was at 26 to take it to 50, and then we had that giant drop down to 618, and I looked like an idiot after I said that. But now I don't look like an idiot. So I'd like to see it consolidate above this breakout between 30 and 34. And then for me, I'm probably not going to touch it till it gets back over 34 again. But then you could probably ride it to 40. Let's see. So I did have some shorted stock, energy stocks here that I think are good to be covered. So CRK is shorted 22%. So I was looking at energy stocks because if we still get a squeeze on energy this week, which we haven't gotten yet, yeah, energy's kind of getting crushed right now. So these might be ones that you could actually short then, because you're going to see shorts pile on again to drive these down. So this would be one that you could play either way. Just be careful if we do get a squeeze. Just know that these will go up a lot. CDEV is 18% shorted. Kind of has a falling wedge action. So with a lot of times what you see with these falling wedges, especially with what I'm seeing with energy, is you'll see a breakdown and then a snap back. So this is called a bump and run reversal. So you get a bump down and you'll see a run reversal, right? So you're gonna get super faked out, right? So you're like, it broke to the south, and then it's gonna hit support. You know, maybe it hits a major support here, and then it reverses and catapults. I've seen this a lot. So this actually happened a while ago with Nucor. So where did this happen? Yeah, all right, here we go. So I remember watching Nucor here, and it had a nice falling wedge, right? So you had this nice falling wedge into support, and you're like, hell yeah, look at that, it just bounced on support. This thing's gonna go to the moon, right? And it did. It just took another couple months. So what happened here is it broke down overnight to the downside, came back in, retested, and then it turned bullish from there. But that's why we just got to be careful. And look, you can see it did it again here, where falling wedges sometimes can be tricky, right? And I've seen this a lot on Twitter lately. They're like, hey, it's in a falling wedge. It's like, all right, cool. But sometimes falling wedges are bad, especially in bear markets. Falling wedges can really trick you out, right? Because the price action is going down for a reason. So the pressure to sell is so great, you need to be watching price action near the end of the wedge. So for here, you can see the selling pressure was larger. This buying volume was not too great. You did get the wick below, but then it broke down below, and then you get your snapback action. So this is a bump and run reversal, which is what I was just talking about. So I was just talking about on CDEV. So let's take a look at quad UE quick, because I was looking at UUU over the weekend, and I did actually chart it up. So I've had this charted for a while. You can get rid of this, it's no longer relevant. So now we had this channel down, got broken out, right, and now we're stair stepping up. So it is kind of there you go. So you kind of got your channel up. So you kind of got your channel up here. I do expect a little bit of consolidation between $10 and $9.50, but if we can get over 10 again, one thing that is concerning is this bearish engulfing tweezers when we tried to break out here. This is very bearish, but you do kind of have some false amigos going into earnings. I don't expect earnings to be that great yet, because we haven't really had the price squeeze yet, but I don't think they're going to be terrible either. So maybe you get a kind of a dip and rip, right? So get that, I believe, tomorrow. Yeah, so we have that tomorrow. So we'll have to see if we get the dip and rip or if we just get the rip. Richard Grammer's asking for nickel stocks, so you probably want Vail. Vail's looking healthy for a potential reversal here as well. Vail is one of the top nickel producers in the world, so keep an eye on that. Remember, nickel futures aren't going to open for, potentially they may not open all week. We'll have to see. I imagine they'll stabilize a little bit now and they'll open them back up, but I would like to see a run back to 21. Take a look tomorrow. If this opens around $18.50, $19, potentially looking at the 20 or 21 weeklies. If they're super cheap, I'm talking 10 cents or so, the 21s, or even if the 20s are If the 20s open tomorrow and this is under $19 and they're 10 to 15 cents, I'd look at picking up a couple of those as a lottery play. I think those could play. So the other big nickel stock is BHP. The problem is these are all foreign stocks, so they like to make their runs overnight. And so I don't love... This is one I if you're going to play one, you probably want to play Vale. BHP is a large miner, but it just doesn't move much during market hours. It's a swing only for me. Most of the moves are made overnight. So it looks like it failed to uphold the uptrend and reversed. I'd love to see that hold 68.25, but we'll have to see. But chart doesn't look terrible other than this just ridiculousness of ping pong action. And you have Rio Tinto as well. And again, all these foreign companies, so they all look similar where they have the gap down. And that's because commodities have sold off recently, so gonna need to see some bounce on commodities to play these again. But they are going through a correction right now, and they did have a huge run, so that makes sense, right? Yeah, here's the opposite, where I was talking about a rising wedge that you think is bearish, and because the buying pressure outweighs the selling pressure, you get a huge breakup and breakout. So the wedges used to be a reversal pattern, and lately you've been seeing them as continuation patterns. So you got to play with what's been happening recently. I've been watching marine shipping. Marine shipping still looks great. If you were in Zim with me last week, we made off like bandits. So you had the great earnings gap up, consolidation. It could not get below that, and then finally on Friday just went bonkers. Thursday, Friday. So 72 to 80.50, so $9 move in 2 days. Really nice 15% move in 2 days on a stock. Can't blame that. So we played that up and we made a lot of money on it. I mean, honestly, you could pick any shipping stock right now and they all look pretty good. I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked at Geelong. You know, this was one of my top picks of the year, Geelong. We went long on this around $13, and you can see recently it hit 19.5. This is a liquefied natural gas shipping company. This one and FLNG. I think FLNG recently got annihilated, and looks like they've been consolidating for a while. This one looks a little more terrible. Let's clean this up a little bit. So this might re-see 20, but after that, I mentioned when it was at 16.70, I tweeted out, I said this price is a gift. So that thing ran up to 25 from the $16 mark. What are some other ones? I mean, I have a whole list of them, right? So I actually have a shipping list. So you can see DAC is another top one that I like. Let's clean this up a little so it looks a little smoother. So you can see it had a cup, broke out, tested, and now it's breaking north. So now it's testing this pivot point right here. We're looking right here at this pivot. So if this can get back over $98, you should see this approach recent highs. Not sure what the all-time high on this is. Looks like the all-time high is like 600 almost, 560. But I mean, you've seen, mean, even on the weekly, this thing looks great, right? So, absolutely should see a breakout here and continuation. Daily looks great as well. You might see maybe one more retest of 88, but I don't see how this doesn't continuate and go possibly higher. The big thing that you need to realize is a lot of these shipping stocks have price to earnings in the 1 to 2 ratios. So that basically means they're making as much money as their market cap, right? So 2 billion market cap, income statement on an annual basis is 1 billion net income. So it's just, yeah, the price to earnings is just so redonkulous that, like, there's so much upside on here, so much upside. If shipping prices continue to stay skyrocketed, these could be this is my number one sector in the year. I've been saying it since January that shipping is my number one sector. Will continue to be my number one sector until I see otherwise. So keep an eye on this one. If you want to know what a price target on this is, you simply could go for the last impulse move, throw a pivot up or throw a some fibs on there, and then you can mark up some levels to make it look pretty, right? So you can throw a 382, throw a 618, maybe a 1-to-1 up there. If you really want, you could do the 786, and you could do the 236, right? And then you're gonna mark up the all-time recent high, the breakout. So you're probably looking, you know, maybe it does something like this. Right? So that could be some price action that you could see on it. So I mean, that gives it a 30%, 40% upside though. That's pretty big. So SBLK, you can see I've been watching this for a while. We've been playing this since November of last year, and we've made a lot of good money on it since then. I haven't played, I think once it got to about 25, I stopped playing it. That was my fault. I thought it needed to cool down again, but it just broke out, went to 32, and is now consolidating above this breakout point. You can see there's some pretty clear channels up, right? So it's just consolidating above this breakout point, and it did have just insane earnings lately. So I think fundamentally this is probably weaker of most of them, even with a 3 price to earnings 3. I don't know why in particular. I think just hedge funds have latched on to this one a little bit more. I think Zim is still my favorite. It obviously has had the most bullish action recently as well. And if you look, you know, 1.47. I think Zim and NMM are my favorites, but there's just so many, like Global Shipping Line. Can't go wrong with that one. That looks very similar to Zim, right? So had your breakout, had your retest, bought up, close at the daily. That's the daily high close. So great earnings, continuing to beat estimates. You know, they I think Eagle just went nuts recently too. Yeah, this is one I was talking about. Pretty sure I was even making jokes. It's like, hey, I got a stock for you, right? Eagly. I mean, you could basically see the impulse waves perfectly on if you play if you're an Elliott wave trader. So you easily have a 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you can see this is an accumulation phase. If you're a Wyckoff trader, you see these boxes, right? So you have the sell-off, the selling climax, the spring, then you have the retest, and this is the show of strength, right? The consolidation, and then your markup. So you're probably going to get a ending move here going into earnings, but you should probably see this thing hover in a box for the immediate future. Potentially could see continuation, but I would probably see an ABC down and then maybe continuation from there. Yeah. I also am a big fan of, where is it? GOGL. So you see, this had some distribution here, right into accumulation. So the big thing with this is you had your fake out, sell off, and then basically we went through accumulation here. So you had your selling climax, retest, you have this wick showing it's the bottom, show of strength, and now you have what's looking like we're going to have one more leg up, right? So I have a feeling big boys are just rotating through shipping stocks right now. And you can see which ones are becoming more and more bullish. So I'd like to see on this one in particular is a breakout above 1225. Just doing some measured moves here. So I would say you probably could see a move between $15 and $16 for your final price target there. All right, let me go back into I remember looking at biotech stocks, specifically LLY, and thinking it looked terrible recently. Because I was looking at it at the hourly. Let's just clear everything here. And I was thinking this would be a good short. You're starting to get some rounding action, right? And we just broke the uptrend here at the end of the day. So I really like I really like LLY for a short right now. It looks like it had a rising wedge that it tried to break out and was immediately corrected. And so for me that's a big sign that this is the buying climax is what I would call it. So I think you could play this easily down to 260. If not down to ultimately the 250. So you'll probably see as an ABC down now. So maybe you see this like that. And then from there, I expect buyers to come in. And that would actually make a pretty bullish looking chart for continuation as well. There's a lot of LLY catalysts this week. But or not this week, this year. So I don't expect this to stay down long. But like if you're looking even like XBI, right, the biotech ETF. Oops. The amount of bearish flow that just continues to pour into biotech and just biopharma, not necessarily like the big biopharmas, but it's just everything looks terrible. So I do expect there to be eventually a floor here, but the problem is there's so much speculative trading on biotech last year, and I think Kathy Woods had a lot to do with it. You see a lot of those biotechs just went crazy, and now they're not following through. And none of them really make money, right? So you just see a major correction in biotech, and it just is what it is. I think these are going to go back to pre-COVID levels, and I think that correction between, in this area makes sense, right? So I think this double bottom here, 65 is possible for us to go back there. And I think 77 is possible. But keep in mind, this is, look at the volume that we're seeing here. This is extreme volume compared to like the cluster of this volume is very high. So this is definitely looking like it. One more leg down and then we could probably go long on it. I don't know if ETFs can have short interest. Yeah, I don't, yeah. Oh. Never mind. I guess they can. Makes sense, I suppose. Never really looked into ETF short interest. Yeah, 58.5%. Good catch. So, when this goes, it's going to go hard. It's not quite there yet, though. I will say, though, if this gets back above 93, you could see a nice run, because that's going to probably break out the downtrend. I'm actually going to set an alert on this. This will be interesting to me. So. Commodities continue to get slapped down right now. Looks like tech futures just went red. Yep. So NQ1 just went red. It's hovering with a major breakdown. What the? So it's either going to bounce here and create a double bottom, or we're going to sell off and probably open up pretty red tomorrow. I think if we get peace talks or ceasefire talks, an agreement on that, then I do think we have a major green day if that happens. That should be a huge trending green day, right? Looks like that fractal's done. All right. So what's up, Danny D? All right. That's all I really had to look at tonight. I didn't have much else that I wanted to cover. I do think I was looking at Moe's and some fertilizer stocks. I still thought those looked good. So I think these also depend particularly on the Russian war, though, because I could totally see these making Batmans, right? And I can also see these breaking out, but I think it's completely news-based, the path that it takes. So I think CF, very similar setup, right? A lot of these have this structure where they can't get over this high right here, and so it's either going to come down and make a Batman, or it's going to consolidate and break out, and I'll be here for both ways. So I think it's ADM. Archer Midland is the same setup. Yeah, a little similar setup. AMR, that's the one I was thinking of, AMR. So AMR is a coal stock. BTU looks pretty good. I'd keep an eye on this one as well for coal squeezes. I think coal is undergoing a resurgence, so back over 24, you're gonna see a push again on this. No, I still like Sue. Sue is in a very defined channel, So I still like it. I just don't know if it's going to do much this week. I think with SU you just want to have time. It is a slow mover, unlike some other oil stocks. I mean, it doesn't move like Oxy, but what you need man, I'm not sure if Oxy's going to move much more. Oxy could be a really good short this week, right? So keep that on your short list for shorting. I think a lot of people have been waiting to short oil stocks, and the ones that ran really hard are going to be the ones that fall. The ones like Sioux, Sioux kind of held up. So Sioux hasn't run too hard and already kind of went through the correction. So maybe it comes back down to 30.5, but the downside is low and the upside is high. All we need for Sioux to really run is, imagine this, you wake up and the US has agreed to import more Canadian oil. Boom! What's the biggest Canadian oil company? Suncor. Suncor could make up a third to half of our oil needs. It's so big. So keep that in mind, that Suncor's upside is so much higher than its downside that it's a worthy oil energy stock investment, in my opinion. I currently hold a position in it, so that should tell you how much I believe in it. So we'll take a look at FCX here real quick. So FCX looks a lot similar to some other commodity stocks. So here's the thing I really like about FCX, and this is why I currently hold a position in this as well. And we're going to end the night on this too, because it's getting a little late, but looks like people are starting to head out as well. So the big thing on this is you can see we had a nice cup, right? So just huge accumulation period, huge up thrust, and you can kind of see we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. So I was trying to see what kind of correction we would look like. I'm not sure if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4. So this could be wave 4 right here, or if this is wave 4 right here. Could be either way. Kind of looks like this is a 1, 2, and then this is a complex correction, wave 4, which makes sense, in my opinion. So you can see breakout, retest, snap up buying, closed above. Look, it bounced down and then closed above. So this is a very bullish candle. In my opinion, this candle particularly on the 9th. And the fact that we've been consolidating here. I don't love that this is kind of bear flaggy, but I do love that it's got a rounding bottom action. And I want to see this back above 48. Back above 48. And you should see this thing go. I do know there's a lot of large money out there that's still very bullish on FCX. As long as copper prices continue to hold up, that's what we're going to be looking at on this. And copper right now is only down 0.5%, so only 2 cents per ounce. And so copper prices compared to oil prices right now are holding up very well, which bodes well for the future of FCX. And copper, silver, and gold are going to continue to run this year. I think copper can run north of $6 to $8 an ounce. I think silver can run north of 50 this year. I think gold can run north of 3,000 this year. Now, I'm not talking soon, I'm talking this year. So you might see ramp ups towards the end of the year. If we get our 25-point rate hike instead of a 50, that's bullish for these. Higher rate hikes sooner than later would be bearish, because that means they're trying to curb inflation, which would be bearish for metals. Obviously, you know, these are based on inflation, because if when you're buying a commodity, it's all about inflation. So higher inflation prices mean higher commodities, which means higher profits, right? So looks like NQ just bounced, went back green. Yamakasi whiskey. No, I don't think I have. Alright, so you can see this did bounce right where we thought it would bounce. Let's see, it probably retests this 133.50 level, so you're going to have a small little pivot right here, right? So potentially it's just going to continue to make these rounding bottoms, right? So you're going to see this round, round. Then you're going to see overnight make this another round right into open. Then you're either going to see it dump on open, or you're going to see massive rejection or massive bounce. So we'll see what happens. You a green pill or a red pill person? Yeah, I think a lot of people are bullish on gold right now. The nice thing about gold is it's also a safe haven. It wasn't during the COVID crash for lots of reasons. The COVID crash was one that happened right away. It was a black swan event, and people sold gold because they needed liquidity. Now it's a happening over time event, so people can use gold as a safe haven. They don't need it necessarily for liquidity because the market isn't providing them with a huge need to sell off and the need for liquidity right now. So alright, that's gonna do it for me. Been going for a while now. I hope you guys all appreciated and enjoyed the class tonight. If you like what I was talking about and found it helpful, I always appreciate the likes. If you guys want to throw me a subscribe, I always appreciate those. That way you guys never miss a live. We do daily recaps with Hasib and Airdrake as well. And depending on how the week goes, I might go live Wednesday. What do we plan on this? Let's plan on streaming on YouTube the second half of Wednesday all day. Or maybe we'll stream all day Wednesday. I think that would be fun. Let's stream and live trade together Wednesday on YouTube. We'll do it in the Discord as well, obviously. So there'll be no lag in the Discord, and there'll be about a 20-30 second, or it'll be a 10 to 15 second lag on YouTube, but we'll do that live Wednesday. Hasib is Airdrake. That's his real name. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, coffee lover. Tell Bulldog I say hi, and I hope he gets better. Ah, that sucks. I really like Bulldog. He's a good guy. Alright, everyone. Have a great night. Cheers.